Hi, it's Lee from ColouringQueen.net, and today I want to show you a DIY solution to save money on your Wink of Stella or your glitter pens or your sparkle pens. So if you haven't used Wink of Stella before or other sparkle pen brands, what they do is they just put a little layer of sparkle of like a little sheen over the top of your work. Now, it's always more noticeable in real life. It's hard to pick it up on camera, but we'll give it a try. If you can see the little sparkles there, and that's from the plain colour of the Wink of Stella. And there's other sparkle pen brands as well. The Kuretake brand, Wink of Stella brand, also make coloured sparkled pens. So you can have a colour and then there's a little bit of sparkle there as well. Now the thing is that if you're adding lots of sparkle and lots of fairy wings and whatnot, these can run out pretty quickly, and you know, in the US they're not that expensive, but in Australia they're actually quite expensive to get these. So I thought I'd make my own. So all you need is some sort of iridescent medium. So there's a lot of brands on the market. This is the Liquitex one. It comes in a tube, so super easy, and you can use this with other things like under acrylic paint, with Inktense pencils, all sorts of things, and or with watercolors. And then I've got this brand as well, which is the Winsor & Newton brand. So whichever brand you go with, just pop some in a little container. This one's got like a real heavy moussey consistency, whereas the Liquitex one is a lot more fluid, so a lot more like toothpaste. Sort of scoop up that goodness there. So I'll use the Liquitex one, seeing I already squeezed it out of the tube, and I'll put the Winsor & Newton one away. Now all we have to do is mix it up with a bit of water and pop it into a pen. So I've just got a little bit of water here. Just mix it up so that it's fluid. You don't want to add too much, but you can add as much as you sort of like. Then all I'm going to do is pop it into a water brush. To do that, I've got a pipette that you can buy from the dollar store, or you could use an eyedropper, or you could use like a syringe or whatever, or you might be really good at pouring things into little itty bitty holes. So undo your water brush, suck up some of that sparkly goodness. You could of course just use a normal paintbrush if you wanted to. You don't need to do, you know, this. Just use whatever you've got. You see how little I used, so I'll have these tubes forever and a day, and everything I own will probably be coloured in sparkles because I've got so much of it. So fill it up as much as you like. Now it's a good idea when you're doing this, just to sort of start the flow type thing, is to just dip it a bit in here as well, just get a bit on the brush. That sort of primes it, and while you're waiting for the fluid to actually come down from the water brush. And so we did green before, so let's put a bit of sparkle onto this pink. And I hope you guys can see that sparkle. You can always see it more in real life. Now of course you don't have to use the water brush. You can just use a little paintbrush. So I've been using, this one's all grubby on the end because I was using it to stir up the paint with, because I couldn't find anything else. Some of you know that we're sort of doing some renovations at the moment, so things are pretty chaotic. And so you can just pop it on there with a little brush and you can see it sparkle up. You don't need to use the water brush if you don't have one. Whatever's easier for you. And of course, to clean out your pipette or whatnot, just put a little glass down, put some water in it and just sort of suck it up, and that will clean it out and rinse it off. So I was wondering, because we've got the clear sparkles now, I I was wondering if it was possible to replicate the coloured sparkles using the same method. So just with my little bit of leftover sparkle dust here, or fairy dust, I'm going to add some colour. I thought there was a couple of ways that I could do this, so I'll grab another little bottle, and for this one we'll use this brand so that we've got two brands happening. This is like really moussey. It's very thick. So I just scoop some in there. So I thought with one I would try Inktense pencils, and with other we'd try watercolours and just see what happens, basically. I'm a full believer in seeing what happens. Now I've got sparkly fingers because I just got that brush on me. So now I'm a full-on fairy. I'm just glittered myself up. So with my Inktense, I don't actually have the Inktense blocks where I could scrape a bit off. I can't find my knife to scrape a bit off there, so I'm just going to sharpen a bit off, and I'm just trying to capture the pigment without the wood. So I've gone for the bigger hole just so I can sort of shave off a little bit of pigment, and I'm going to put that over onto my palette. Of course I am managing to get a little bit of wood in there as well, but I think I should be able to pick it out. Now of course it'd be easier if you had the blocks, but I don't have them, so I make do. And I'm just going to pick off those little bits of shaving that I've managed to scoop up into there, and mix it in with a little bit of olive water. Now Inktense is actually bringing out, in a couple of months' time, they're actually bringing out pans, so I am really looking forward to seeing that. I think the Inktense in the form of pans will be great for travel, great for doing things like this if you just wanted a little tiny bit to mix with something. So I'm just going to pull that little bit of pigment out there, and so we've got this lovely vibrant green happening here. So I'm just going to add that over here to our Winsor & Newton mix. And on reflection it would have been better if I'd used the little round pan closer to that, but live and learn. I'm absolutely covered in this sparkle material now, so I might go play in the garden later. So the only reason I did that was just to basically dissolve the Inktense and bring up that colour. So I'm going to mix it in with our Winsor & Newton mix, and it's looking a bit spongy at the moment. It's looking a bit grey and yucky. Now it does have water in with that Inktense mix, but I'm going to add some more water just so that it's a little bit thinner. At the moment it would clog up a water brush if I used a water brush, and you can see how thick it is on my brush. This is just a cheap mangy brush that I don't have any fondness for whatsoever. Just add a little bit of water there. Now I may have added too much water to this mix, but that's okay. And so now we can scoop that up in our water pen, or we can just use a brush to apply it. And I'm just going to use the brush and put it here, and we can see that we do get that green colour. So we can change the colour by adding Inktense in. Now, you know, unless you've got the greater Inktense, I think it's a pretty messy way of doing this. And you do also achieve, you know, a lovely colour just by using it plain. It just adds that little sparkle. But let's see if it was easier if we do it the watercolour route, just to stain the paper with watercolour. So I've just got a cheap brand of watercolour. It's Reeves that I got from the discount shop in Australia. Just going to a little bit of that in here. Give it a stir. It is going very bright red, or fuchsia, as the colour says. Now it's really quite thin, so it's not dropping off there. So I think it would actually be fine. I don't think it needs any more water added into it, because this is the Liquitex one and it already had water in. It was our leftover from our first one. But I'm liking that sparkle. So let's just grab a brush and see what it looks like on paper. Now it's not as bright going on wet as it is in the pot, but we are getting that lovely red feel, which is very like these pens here from Kuretake. So here's the Kuretake pink. It's a bit scratchy, to be honest. It's not flowing very well. At least with this I can actually scoop up however much I want. So this is the Kuretake pink. Here is our red sparkles that we've made with the watercolour, adding it to the iridescent medium, and I hope you can see how sparkly it is. And here is our Inktense. Now I do think the Inktense is lovely, but unless you've got the blocks it's a little bit hard to manage, whereas I think the watercolour is far easier. And honestly, just using it on its own with a little bit of water in a water brush or with a paintbrush is the easiest thing ever. So I hope you've liked that quick way of making your own sparkle pens. Until next time, happy colouring.